My sister discovered she wasn't Dad's daughter and left us for her biological father. Now, she has returned for Dad's inheritance. I never imagined I'd be writing something like this, but I really need to get everything off my chest and perhaps gain some outside perspective. This matter has been bothering me for years, and it has only gotten more convoluted. My sister Lisa's wedding 5 years ago devolved into a complete disaster that nearly ruined our family. It's still difficult to discuss at times, but I need to describe everything from the beginning so that it makes sense. I was 28 at the time, and Lisa was 25. We were always really close, like abnormally close, according to most people who knew us. We were practically inseparable as children, despite the fact that I was 15 months older. I sort of took that connection for granted. We did almost everything together. We exchanged clothes, generally without asking, had the same pals, and were constantly in each other's business. Our mother used to say she couldn't bring just one of us somewhere because we were a buy one, get one free group. Thinking back on our adolescent years makes my heart hurt a little. We actually did everything together. For example, we might wake up at 2 a.m. on a school night, lying on my bed, eating forbidden food we'd hidden from Mom and discussing the most ridiculous topics. We even devised a strategy for covering one another's backs. If Lisa decided to attend to a party that our parents would absolutely not approve of, I'd pretend she was studying at my friend Sarah's place. When I wanted to meet up with a guy I was seeing, who, looking back, was a bit of a jerk, she'd tell Mom and Dad I was in the library. We were pretty excellent at being partners in crime, so we never got caught. The amount of time we spent arranging our future weddings was just insane. Lisa was preoccupied with having the perfect spring wedding. She desired cherry blossoms everywhere. She even wanted to marry in a cherry blossom orchard. She'd spend hours showing me photographs of beautiful Japanese gardens and discussing how she'd reproduce the entire feel. Meanwhile, I was determined to have a highly dramatic winter wedding with fake snow and icicle lights everywhere. We used to joke that we'd have to marry 6 months apart so we could both be maids of honor at the other's dream wedding. It's ridiculous to think about right now. If someone had told me how things would turn out back then, I doubt I would have believed them. When Lisa got engaged to her college love James, it seemed like everything was falling into place. James was exactly the type of guy we'd discussed during our late-night sister chats. Nice, witty, and utterly devoted to Lisa. I was ecstatic when she asked me to be her maid of honor, even though we both knew it wasn't really a question. We spent hours looking through wedding magazines, making Pinterest boards, and visiting venues. It was like we were small girls playing wedding again, only this time it was real. Our parents split when we were teenagers. I was 16 and Lisa was 15. Despite their breakup, they had managed to keep a polite relationship for our sake. Mom remarried a beautiful man named Steve 3 years after her divorce. He was kind and compassionate, constantly making us feel included in their new life together without attempting to replace our father. Dad elected to remain unmarried, focusing his energies on growing his real estate development business. He always maintained that his daughters were all he needed in terms of family. Lisa's parents had agreed to split the costs of her ideal wedding equally. Dad had done exceptionally well with his business over the years, and he insisted on ensuring Lisa had everything she wanted for her special day. "My little girl only gets married once," he would add, beaming with delight as we showed him the plans. The issue began 2 weeks before the wedding. Lisa and I were at Mom's place sorting through old family photos for the reception presentation. We wanted to include a lot of childhood photos, including Lisa and me in matching Easter outfits, family holidays to the beach, and Dad teaching us how to ride bikes. We were in the attic, surrounded by old boxes and memories, when Lisa discovered a stack of letters tied together with a fading blue ribbon. We initially assumed they were love letters from our parents' childhood. Lisa began reading one aloud, giggling, but her voice soon drifted off. Her face turned pale, and her hands shook. The letters were from Mom to a man named Michael and were written around the time Lisa was conceived. They described their affair and Michael's urgent request to be a part of the baby's life, which turned out to be Lisa. I will never forget Lisa's expression as she realized the truth. She'd always been very close to Dad. Lisa was Dad's little shadow as we grew up, whereas I was more independent. She followed him around his workshop, learning about the tools and assisting him with projects. She even chose to study business in college with the goal of eventually taking over his real estate company. The confrontation with Mom was explosive. Lisa rushed into the kitchen and demanded answers. Mom burst into tears after looking at the papers. Through her tears, she disclosed everything. Michael had been her co-worker, and they had a brief affair at a difficult period in her marriage. When she discovered she was pregnant, she chose to remain with Dad and never notified anybody about Lisa's true paternity. She implored us to understand that she was young, afraid, and simply wanted to protect our family. Lisa was adamant about telling Dad the truth before their wedding. I attempted to persuade her to wait until after the wedding, concerned about how this might impact her big day. How can I walk down the aisle with him, knowing I've been living a lie my entire life, she was arguing. How can I let him give a father of the bride speech when he's not even my real father? I should have backed her decision more instead of attempting to protect everyone's feelings. She had the right to know the truth, and I was wrong to suggest hiding it, even briefly. The day we informed Dad altered everything. We went to his place together. Lisa requested I accompany her for support. Dad was in his workshop, excitedly working on a surprise wedding present for Lisa. We later discovered it was a handcrafted jewelry box. When Lisa showed him the letters, he slumped down heavily on his workbench, the half-finished box forgotten in his grasp. Dad's reply was simultaneously devastating and impressive. Despite his obvious anguish and astonishment, his first concern was for Lisa. "Sweetheart," he said, "I need you to know something. Biology doesn't make a father, love does, and I have loved you every single day of your life. Nothing will ever change that." He offered to still walk her down the aisle if she wanted him to, but Lisa was too overwhelmed by everything. She postponed the wedding, stating that she needed time to process. That's when things started to fall apart. Lisa got preoccupied with locating Michael. She spent hours searching online for every lead she could find. When she finally found him on social media, he was surprised and excited to meet her. Unlike Dad, Michael had never married or had any other children. He accepted Lisa into his life with open arms, and what began as a simple curiosity quickly escalated into something more serious. Lisa began to spend more time with Michael, learning about her true origins and family history. She learned that they both loved photography and had similar mannerisms. Michael showed her old family albums and told her she looked like her grandma and smiled like her aunt. With each new connection she made with Michael's family, she seemed to drift more away from ours. This is where I committed what Lisa considers an unforgivable transgression. I couldn't bear watching Dad suffer as the daughter he had raised for 25 years faded away. One evening, after Lisa had cancelled another meal with Dad to spend time with Michael, I confronted her. I reminded her of how many times Dad had been there for her. I pointed out that, while Michael was her biological father, he hadn't sat through every dance recital or looked for monsters under her bed. "You don't understand," Lisa responded. "You get to be sure about who you are. You're Dad's real daughter. I've been living a lie my whole life. Every time I look in the mirror now, I wonder what parts of me come from a stranger." Our relationship deteriorated quickly following that chat. She accused me of siding with her father and failing to support her desire to discover her true identity. Within months, she had relocated to California to be closer to Michael. What truly devastated us was Lisa's decision to hold a tiny wedding ceremony in California, with Michael leading her down the aisle. She did not invite Dad or me. We found out about it after a mutual acquaintance shared some Facebook images. Dad tried to keep a strong face, but I could tell he was devastated. He had already purchased her wedding gift, which included not just the jewelry box he had been crafting, but also a hefty down payment on a house. He never asked for the money back, instead simply transferring it to her account with a note expressing his hope she would be pleased. For the next few years, I attempted to maintain contact with Lisa via social media and occasional texts, but she remained distant and cold. Meanwhile, I became much closer to Dad. He was depressed after losing Lisa, so I made an effort to see him on a daily basis and incorporate him as much as possible in my life. We enjoyed Sunday dinners together, and I began to learn about the real estate industry from him, not because I wanted to take over, but because I knew it made him happy to share his knowledge with someone who cared. 2 years ago, Dad began to exhibit signals that something was wrong. He would miss appointments, become confused with ordinary activities, and occasionally get lost when traveling to known locations. Following numerous disturbing instances, I persuaded him to consult a doctor. The diagnosis was devastating: early-onset Alzheimer's disease. The doctor said that, while medication could halt the pace, we should begin planning for the future while Dad was still conscious. That's when Dad resolved to get his affairs in order. He gave me power of attorney and opted to give me the majority of his assets, including his home, business holdings, and most of his savings. I attempted to persuade him to divide things more equitably, saying that Lisa was still his daughter in all the important ways. But Dad was adamant. "I'm not doing this to punish Lisa," he stated. "I'm doing this because you've proven yourself capable of managing these responsibilities. The business, the properties, they need someone who understands them and cares about them. You've shown that you do." Lisa learned about Dad's will last month from a family member. Suddenly, my phone was continuously vibrating with texts and calls from her. She explained that she had done a lot of soul-searching and recognized she had been unjust to both Dad and me. She stated that she missed having her sister in her life and wanted to make things right. But then Mom began pressuring me to persuade Dad to change his will while he still could. She claimed that she deserved an equal share of the fortune because he had raised her as his daughter, conveniently ignoring that she had rejected the same relationship for the previous 5 years. She even stated that Dad's Alzheimer's diagnosis would render him legally incapable to make these decisions, hinting that she could challenge the will if required. The final straw came last week, when Lisa showed up unexpectedly at my residence. She burst into tears, stating her marriage was failing and that moving to California had been a horrible mistake. Michael, she said, was not the parent she had imagined. He was controlling and began forcing her to care for him in his old age because she was his only child. She asked me to help her relocate back home, saying she wanted to reconnect with Dad before his condition deteriorated. When I asked her specifically if her sudden wish to reconcile was related to Dad's fortune, she became defensive and angry. She accused me of greed and attempting to keep Dad's money for myself. "You've always been his favorite," she said angrily. "Ever since I found out the truth, you've been poisoning him against me, making sure you get everything in the end." The talk ended with her storming out when I informed her she couldn't just come back into our life because it was financially convenient. Lisa is now telling everyone who will listen that I manipulated Dad into leaving her out of his will. She's even reached out to her mother, with whom she had previously been aloof, in an attempt to persuade her to support her. Mom, to her credit, has remained silent, claiming that when she lied about Lisa's paternity, she forfeited her right to an opinion on Dad's decisions. I am split about what to do. Dad's condition is slowly deteriorating. He sometimes forgets the year and refers to me as Lisa. I want his final years to be calm, and part of me wonders if I should try to persuade him to amend his will merely to keep the peace. Lisa is still my sister, and I hate that money has caused this schism between us. But another part of me believes she made her decision 5 years ago, when she rejected Dad and cut us out of her life. Lisa's desire to reconcile solely because there is an inheritance at risk appears manipulative and disingenuous. Update 1. Wow. Thank you to everyone who took the time to comment and share their opinions. Reading through your messages has definitely helped me process things I wasn't even aware I was battling with. Many of you have questions and recommendations, so I wanted to provide an update on what has been going on. First, regarding the inheritance situation. I followed some of your recommendations and had another lengthy conversation with Dad about fully cutting Lisa out. I chose one of his good days for our conversation. His doctor said that with early onset Alzheimer's, you have these periods where everything is crystal clear, almost like in the old days. I reminded him that while Lisa had truly hurt him by selecting Michael, entirely cutting her out might be something he regretted later if he had a moment of clarity. We ended up speaking for hours. Dad began relating all of his recollections of Lisa when she was younger, such as how she used to follow him about his workshop with a tiny plastic tool set, pretending to mend things alongside him. He got quite upset talking about it, which was difficult to witness because Dad is not the crying kind. It made him understand that his current decision may have been motivated by hurt rather than reasonable thought. So we scheduled a meeting with his lawyer, which cost an absolute lot. Dad decided to create a smaller trust fund just for Lisa's future children's schooling. It was actually rather brilliant how he structured it. The trust can only be used for educational expenses, such as tuition, books, and other charges. This money cannot be used to finance flashy automobiles or spring break getaways. Dad also included a stipulation requiring Lisa to maintain frequent touch with him, at least monthly visits or calls, for a full year before the trust becomes operational. His logic made sense to me. He explained that he is still providing for his possible grandchildren, who should not be punished for this adult drama, while also realizing that I was the one who stood by him through it all. Furthermore, the contact requirement prevents Lisa from simply showing up, taking the money, and leaving. She must make a genuine effort to repair their friendship. If I'm fully honest, I believe it's more than fair given everything that has happened. It's also made me realize that I've been harboring more anger about this whole issue than I imagined. My therapist thinks it's acceptable to feel betrayed by Lisa, but I should work on processing these sentiments in a healthy way rather than allowing them to gnaw at me. She's probably correct, but it's difficult when new drama is springing up every other day. Also, in case anyone is wondering, Dad's new prescription appears to be helping with his symptoms. He's been having more good days than bad recently, which is a tremendous comfort. I've been recording him sharing anecdotes about our youth on clear days. The physicians advised that it might aid both him and us later on as his condition worsened. It's bittersweet, but at least we're making the most of our time together. Update 2. Okay, so a lot has occurred since my last update, and I'm still trying to digest it. I've been sitting here for over an hour, trying to figure out how to even begin describing this disaster. I suppose I'll simply dive right in. Yesterday morning, I received an unexpected Facebook message from Lisa's biological father, Michael. At first, I considered deleting it without reading it, assuming it was simply more drama. But something compelled me to open it. Thank God I did, because what he revealed drastically transformed my perspective on the problem. Michael has been feeling bad about his involvement in all that has happened. He claimed he should have told us the truth months ago, but he was frightened of losing his connection with Lisa. Lisa had apparently been lying to everyone about her new life in California. Their father-daughter relationship isn't as fantastic as she makes it out to be. It's actually been extremely stressful over the past year. According to Michael, Lisa has been urging him to sell his house and participate in a business initiative she and James are interested in. When he declined, she began guilt-tripping him about how many years of parenting he owed her. He claims she has gotten increasingly manipulative, even attempting to persuade his sister to urge him to take out a second mortgage. The business venture turns out to be a rather dodgy multi-level marketing scheme that James fell into after leaving his job last year. But wait, things get worse. Michael also revealed that Lisa and James were having major marital issues. They appear to have been discreetly separated for the last 3 months. James moved out after they had a heated argument about money. They're literally drowning in debt because of this MLM bullshit. Lisa never informed any of us about this. She's been maintaining a picture-perfect image on social media while her life has been falling apart. I was still trying to digest everything when Lisa arrived at my place again this morning. This time, she had James with her. Yes, it appears that they are now working things out. They had prepared an entire presentation on Dad's estate and how unfair it was that I was receiving everything. Lisa kept saying that she had forgiven Dad for his rejection of her and was ready to be a proper daughter again. I let them speak for about 10 minutes until I had had enough. I got out my phone and began reading Michael's message aloud. You guys, I wish I had captured Lisa's expression. In seconds, she switched from pretending to be a kind, understanding daughter to panicking outright. James literally stood up and walked away in the midst of it. I believe he didn't realize Lisa had also been lying to Michael. Lisa was absolutely devastated after James departed. Her tears ultimately revealed the whole truth. Their ideal California life had been anything but flawless. James lost his work about a year ago and became associated with an MLM organization that sells health supplements. They spent their funds, maxed out their credit cards, and even took out personal loans to create their business. They now owe more than $100,000. Lisa claimed she had been attempting to acquire money from Michael for months, playing up the long-lost daughter story. When that didn't work, she figured she could persuade Dad to amend his will, and then coax me into giving her a larger percentage of the fortune. She explained that she was desperate and didn't know what else to do. To be honest, I felt sad for her, like my little sister was definitely in over her head and afraid. But another part of me was extremely enraged. She's been manipulating everyone the entire time, pitting us against one another while creating a fantasy story about her fantastic new life. The worst part is that she has been making Dad feel bad for abandoning her, despite the fact that she was the one who cut him out of her life. I informed Lisa that she needed to come clean to Dad. She began making excuses about his health, not wanting to upset him, but I quickly shut that off. I stated that either she tells him the truth or I will. She ultimately consented to speak with him, but only if I went with her. The conversation with Dad was intense. We caught him on a good day, thank God, and Lisa told him everything, about the debt, lying to Michael, James losing his job, and everything else. Dad was uncomfortably quiet after she finished talking. Then he did something that surprised both of us. He began laughing. He stated the entire thing reminded him of when Lisa was 7 and smashed his favorite coffee mug. Instead of simply telling him the truth, she spent a week fabricating a complex story about how the dog knocked it over, replete with a witness statement from her stuffed bear. Dad said he knew it was her the whole time but let her continue the story because he wanted to see how far she'd go. You've always been like this, Lizzie, he said, creating complicated solutions to simple problems, just like your mother. He was not being harsh about it. Then he got serious and told her that while he understood her circumstances, lying and manipulating others was not the solution. For the first time in years, they were able to converse for hours. Dad agreed to help Lisa and James with their debt, but only if they moved back home, got real jobs, no more MLM, and went to financial counseling. He will pay off their debt, but they must sign an agreement to repay him with fair monthly payments. This money will come from his present assets rather than the inheritance. Regarding the inheritance, Dad is adhering to his original plan. The majority of the estate will still go to me, with an education trust for Lisa's future children, if any. But, honestly, After watching Lisa and Dad reconnect, I don't care about money anymore. Watching them begin to restore their connection is worth more than any inheritance. Lisa and James will begin their apartment quest tomorrow. They're looking into locations near Dad so Lisa can assist me with his care. She's already discussing how we can coordinate our schedules so that someone is always available for him. It's strange, a month ago, I'd have been skeptical of her unexpected helpfulness. But after everything that has happened, I feel she is being real this time. I understand we still have a long way to go. There is a great deal of trust to be rebuilt, and Lisa and James must work hard to get their lives back on track. But, for the first time in years, we feel like we might be able to be a genuine family again. Michael texted me this evening to see how things went. I told him the truth, and he appeared relieved that it was finally out. He stated that he still wants to be in a relationship with Lisa, but perhaps with healthier limits this time. I believe that is probably best for everyone. Someone commented on my previous post, stating that sometimes people have to reach rock bottom before they can begin climbing back up. Perhaps Lisa needed to lose everything to realize what was truly important. Dad used to say that the true test of a person is not whether or not they make mistakes, but how they deal with those mistakes when they do. I suppose we'll see if Lisa passes the test this time. Thank you for all of the prizes and encouraging remarks. Many of you have inquired if I plan to do another update. I probably will, once Lisa and James have settled in and we can see if any of these adjustments stick. Fingers crossed. Final update. First and foremost, Lisa and James returned to our neighborhood. They discovered a cute little apartment approximately 10 minutes from Dad's house. It's far smaller than their home in California, but Lisa claims it feels more like home. They've both gotten genuine jobs this time. There are no MLMs in sight. James works for a local company. It turns out that when he's not involved in get-rich-quick schemes, he's quite brilliant with computers. Lisa works as an office manager in a medical practice. The debt repayment plan with Dad is going well so far. They have not missed a single payment, and Lisa has been working additional hours to pay it off faster. I know some people in the comments thought Dad was being overly generous in assisting them, but it was the right decision. Seeing Lisa accept responsibility and seek to correct her mistakes has done more to improve their relationship than any penalty could have. The most significant difference has been in how we handle Dad's care. Lisa and I devised a plan in which we each take turns checking on him and helping out. She handles Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday mornings. Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday afternoons are my available times. We alternate Fridays. It's actually working very well. Dad receives consistent attention, and neither of us feel overwhelmed. Talking about Dad, his condition is, well, it is what it is. The physicians say the drug is slowing the advancement, but we can all see the effects. He currently has more bad days than good. He occasionally gets confused about which of us is which, or believes we are both teenagers again. Even on his roughest days, he appears happy with both of his daughters present. Lisa has been fantastic with him. She has this way of fitting in with whichever historical period he believes he's in, making him feel safe and understood rather than frustrated. Last month, we had a particularly difficult day when Dad couldn't recall that Mom had been unfaithful or that Lisa wasn't biologically his. He kept telling Lisa about their camping vacations when she was younger, and she just went along with it. Later, I discovered her crying in the kitchen and asked if she was all right. She informed me the camping excursions did happen, she just didn't recall them until Dad mentioned them. She claimed that she had spent so many years focusing on what Michael could offer her that she had almost forgotten how much Dad had already done for her. Michael's situation has also evolved. After Lisa's attempt to extract money from him became public, they separated for a few months. Lisa refers to their relationship as a coffee shop relationship. They meet for coffee once a month, keep things light, and avoid discussing money or obligations. It seemed to work well for both of them. Michael has even stopped referring to Lisa as his long-lost daughter, instead calling her simply Lisa, which feels healthier. The inheritance status has not changed. Dad's will remains the same, with me as the major beneficiary and that education trust for Lisa's future children. However, it no longer feels important. Lisa and I discussed it the other day, and she said something that really resonated with me. She said, "The inheritance was never really about the money. It was about who Dad trusted and valued more. I thought getting a bigger share would prove he loved me as much as you. Now I realize I was measuring the wrong thing all along. I realize this all sounds too ideal, like one of those cheesy Hallmark movies where everything works out in the end. Trust me, it is not flawless. Lisa and I still disagree from time to time. Dad still has really bad days. The debt isn't magically erased, and years of pain don't dissipate overnight. But we're all trying to do better. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.